Hey guys, it's Leesh, and welcome to another episode of Car Confessions. Guys, I'm back to work. Like it's crazy. Uh, what is this? Day 3 of me being back at work, and it's been busy. Working in schools. Getting everything prepared before the kids get here. All that kind of stuff has been a little crazy. This guy was about to run into me, so I had to kind of like I see you. You were losing it there, friend. Anyway, so yeah, here's the thing. People driving in New York, like, you have to be beyond like cautious here in the city because you're looking at everything all around you. And like what was happening behind me, like I could see the guy was barely able to get himself together brake wise. And I was like, let me drive up a little bit so I don't hurt myself. Because as he drives off, dangerous. But anyhow, how are y'all? What's going on? What's happening in your world? Like I said, I'm back to work, and yeah, I don't know. It's like we will see what is in store for this school year. Um, I love the start of the school year because it is literally um, that fresh start that many of us are looking forward to, um, forgetting about, all the things that happened last year, learning from the things that happened from that year and moving forward with new skills and new experience because of, whatever took place from last year. So that's been good to kind of like, get into that frame of just knowing that that's where we are at this point in the year. And I like that just in general with life, period. It's like having those fresh starts and really getting to a point where um, you're able to look back and see, okay, these things worked, these things didn't work. Okay, so now moving forward, I'm going to do blah, 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 right? Um, and, always just striving to do and be your best. I think that's like one of the things I am really honing in on in this life is just always knowing that I'm, doing my best and I'm always trying to be my best in everything in my life. And things aren't ever, in my opinion, going to be perfect, but it's going to be my best at that time, given my circumstances and situation and blah, 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 right? Um, yeah, I think it's just so important that we put ourselves in a position of just recognizing that and being as okay, right, and content as possible with where we are in our new start or in our journey. Because sometimes new starts can seem like we're starting all over again, which can be kind of frustrating. But like I said, for me, I like new starts because for me, I think of it as a way of honing all the skills that I've already accumulated over however long time and using it now for this new beginning in my chapter of whatever that is. Starting over for me, it's just I don't know. I think also for me, I'm a person who likes starting over and starting new and, figuring out ways to make things fresh and like try not to kind of do the same thing over and over and over again because after a while that can be a little boring and it just doesn't give you that sense of liveliness and feeling like you're really in something because after a while once you go on autopilot because you know how to do something it's just like okay, yeah, I know, blah blah blah, and here we are. um but yeah, so I like this whole idea of a new start, and it seems like everyone that I've come in contact with for the most part at work are kind of on that same wavelength. And also just recognizing where we all are at this point in life. Um, and I say that in this way because it's like in this new start, we are coming upon new ways of thinking about work, new ways of thinking about our co-workers, and new ways of just understanding rest, right? What does rest look like in my life? What does rest involve? as it relates to my work environment. And for me, this is something brand new. Uh, when you think of rest and really taking care of yourself as it relates to you, you know, thinking about your job or your career or whatever that is. Because I know for me, I can't say for everybody else, but for me, my job would supersede my rest. It would supersede a lot of things, my health, whatever else, because it was like, oh, I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. I've got to produce. I've got to, whatever, to ensure that I am going to be employed, and that I don't look incompetent, right? Because that was like one of my biggest things. I just never wanted to look incompetent. I never wanted to look like I, was this just person that was taking for granted having this job, even though like no one had ever like said to me like, okay, you are, presenting with these characteristics, Leesh, like get it together. Like no one has ever said that to me. It was just in my mind, and I've always been conditioned. I think my family and also being a black person, black woman, it was always a thing of, you got to work harder than your white counterparts. You have to, produce more. You have to just be more all around in order to, be in the workforce. And so that's just always been a part of who I am. No matter what type of work I'm doing, I'm putting in probably 1,000%, and then just allowing everything else to go by the wayside as related to my health, my mental health, spiritual health, whatever. I just didn't even think of it because for me, if I didn't have money, I didn't have anything. Seriously, like that was my mentality for a long time because, I lived as an artist, a struggling artist here in the city for a very long time. And so I know what it looks like to be without money in New York City. And trust me, it's not pretty by any means of the imagination. It is probably one of the most humbling, one of the most frustrating, depressing experiences I had, because New York is very expensive. And so I saw that. But, even as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about myself, in certain situations when I didn't have money, I still was happy, right? Like I've always had joy and happiness that kind of like exudes through me. But to not have money in ways that I saw other people having money, for me, it just felt like I wasn't worthy, or I wasn't someone that could be seen or taken seriously because of my economic status at that time. And now that I'm in a place where I'm making, fairly good money, I mean, still for New York standards, I'm just kind of like the middle class because it's so expensive to live here, but I'm still doing very well for myself and my family. Um, but anyway, like now being in this experience and seeing what it feels like to be able to pay for things and still have that sense of like, oh my gosh, like am I worthy? Am I worthy of whatever, right? And I gotta prove myself over and over again by way of working so hard at my job or this, that, and the other to show the value of who I am. That was that trauma from not having, that lack, that sense of scarcity and all that. And it took, honestly, COVID and us all just kind of, for me, just realizing that at the end of the day, the financial standpoint of my life is not what makes or breaks me, right? I am, worth everything and all things. If I have money, if I don't have money, the people that are, in my life that truly love and care for me are going to be there with money, without money. And, me having, whatever titles, like that's not going to create the worthiness. So it's been such a good reflection for me to see myself in this situation of knowing that regardless of wherever I am, financially or whatever it is, spiritually, whatever, I'm still worthy. We're all worthy. Um, And, many times we, get into this mindset of, well, I don't have this or blah, 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 or I must, like I said, be that person that's producing all the things at work, at home, in a relationship, whatever, to show these people how worthy I am of, being in their presence or having, being a part of a certain experience, what have you. Unlearning that has been it's been hard. It's been very hard, but it's been beautiful at the same time, you know, because it has allowed me to just see me and learn about me and what I like and what lights me up and what passions I truly have for this life, and not trying to look for that external validation all the time to you know um, seek worthiness in this life. Um, so that's a part of my new start. There's that, right? Using all of the things in my life, all the experiences, all of the, um, things where I thought would create that sense of worthiness, by me getting 20 million degrees, by me, working certain jobs that have a sense of like, oh, I've made it. I'm a part of the upper echelon or whatever the hell, right? Getting in those positions and realizing it didn't do anything. It didn't really change. And there wasn't this huge transformation that took place now because I have a doctorate. There was no huge transformation because now I work, and I have an administrative position. Like, I'm still Leesh. I'm still out here working out my shit. I'm still trying to figure this life out. Still using spell check. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is nothing that that degree or that position or that pay raise is going to do that's going to truly fill me up as a human being. I have to do that for myself, in various ways, right? Um, just talking to my therapist, meditation, exercise, eating well. Like, it's all the things that sometimes we take for granted. They're like, oh, will that really work? Yeah, it does. It really does work. And it's just us putting in the work. Sometimes we just want this quick fix, be done, and move on to the next thing. But it's like, in order to have true transformation, it takes time. And because everything's not going to be just a quick snap, right? You might come to a conclusion that you're not going to do blah, 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 blah anymore, but it takes work to maintain that particular conclusion, right? And that's something that I've been working on too. Is like, okay, I've come to the realization that these things need to change my life in order for me to be my best self. Great. I've come to that conclusion. Now, what do I do to maintain this type of behavior or lifestyle or whatever that looks like? What do I need to do? So that is the journey, right? It's constantly, you know, finding ways to be my best self and know that it's not always going to be the same thing over and over again. Because, like I said earlier, sometimes we get stuck in the same old routine, and it gets to a point where it's just like it's such an autopilot type of approach that we're not really getting better at anything, right? We just know how to do it now, right? So sometimes it requires us to step out of that comfort zone, that where we have gotten accustomed to, because now we figured that part out. There's like, okay, but what about this part now? What about that part, right? So it's always striving for that best self in us, and it does require a new start. It definitely requires a new start, but now that you have a foundation, right? You're constantly building that foundation. So when you get to that new level, it's like, oh, okay, I have all this under me. I know how to do this, this, and this. I'm going to utilize this, right, to now move forward with this new thing that I have to work on. And that's okay. That's great. Um, I feel like this life is literally that, constantly going to the next level, going to the next level, and being better and getting better at whatever it is in our lives. Because there's to me, there's never a mountaintop, right, where it's just like, I'm here, I'm done, and I stay up here and I've made it, right? Because I literally thought life was like that. Like, I thought once I got my doctorate, boom, bang, pow, all right, I've made it, and it's a wrap. Leesh is a doctor. In terms of me getting like formal education like that, like in a university setting, I think that is the mountaintop, Leesh. But I'm constantly learning through different coaching programs that I go through, professional development that I do with my job, with acting, singing, working on my voice, different things like that, working on those things to get better and better and better. And that's what I mean. It's like everything is not going to be like this formal, you know, experience. Some things are even just you learning from your kids, learning, you know, how new things operate, learning, the language as it relates to like gender, uh, and because that's something that I continue to work on because I didn't grow up with that type of language. I barely grew up, talking about either gender or sexuality. We just didn't, whatever, because particularly as it relates to gender, it was always a thing of, there's boys, there's girls, done. And there's some people that are in between. We don't talk about them because it's taboo. One, because I grew up very religious. So that was it just wasn't even on my radar. So it's just the constant learning, the constant, you know, making things better in this world to ensure that you're at your best self and other humans. Because my thing is, if I'm working on myself and I'm striving to be my best, I'm hoping that I'm an example for someone else, and for them to see that and say, hey, I probably that's a good idea, I should do that, right? So yeah, it's just constantly in this mode of new start. That's where I'm at, and I love it, and I'm excited. Like I said, for the school year to see what happens, to see the kids when they come back. They come back next week, and yeah, just really, really excited overall. And I don't know if this resonates with you at all, but I just feel like this message is for someone who is in a position of maybe that sense of new start is so uncomfortable right now and just really trying to, you know, face that new start. Oh, excuse me, y'all. Just face that new start and be able to get through it. Because everything is temporary, right? Nothing's going to last forever, which is why we're constantly in this cycle, or not even cycle, but we're always on this journey, just kind of moving through it. And on the journey, we see different things and we experience different things. And I encourage that. I'm constantly encouraging new things on my journey and learning from those new things and, helping people that might be on a similar path that I was on before, or maybe we're on kind of a similar path together at the same time, and be that encouragement for one another, right? It's like, oh my gosh, thank God you're here. Let's work through this and do our best to make these things happen in our life. Or if you are that person that's been through it, like, hey, these are some things that work for me. Maybe this will work for you. Just being that person that can encourage the next person through whatever they're going through. I think it's beautiful. I really do. I do, because I feel like in so many ways we um, block blessings, thinking that things that we've gone through really aren't important, or it wouldn't resonate with somebody, by you offering, support or some advice. I mean, not unsolicited, let's be serious. But if people want to, just talk to you about something and be like, hey, maybe this might help. As you're in like just casual conversation, like, actually I went through something similar and this is what I did, it's helpful. It's helpful because it allows people to also realize that they're not going through this life alone. Somebody else has been through something similar and they made it through. Their testimony of what it looks like on the other side, right? So it's just that constant encouragement. And so my hope is to, as I'm on this new start, to move through it in grace and in love and encouragement, and to be an encouraging person as I move through it as well. I think that's so, so important. So yeah, y'all, doing our best, trying to be our best, all the things, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to get my nails done because they need some assistance. And I'm now looking for parking. Hopefully I find some parking, please, and thank you, God. But yeah, y'all, I love you. And if you're in your new start phase, I encourage you to just keep on keeping on, particularly if it's not so comfortable and it doesn't feel so good. Keep on keeping on. Because like I said, things are temporary. And if it is feeling good, live in that, bask in that newness. And yeah, celebrate it because that's something it's great, you know? All right, y'all. Like I said, I'm heading in here to get these nails done. And I'll see y'all, yeah, next week. All right. Love you. Bye.